Hello and welcome to It's Tea Time with my good friend and golf pro Tony Westford and myself, Neville Gaunt. And the whole purpose of this short program, right up until Christmas Eve, once a week, every Tuesday, is to look at you as a golfer and you as an employee or as an entrepreneur running your own business. And let's show you some links between the golf process and the business process. Tony and I have been doing this for some time, so I'm going to hand over to Tony. We're going to the first tee, Tony. What should we be thinking of?
Well, what we should be thinking of is just exactly what we're about to do. We should have a clear focus on what we want to achieve with this first particular shot. Most golfers are distracted by approaching the first tee by, first of all, looking at how many people are watching them, what they might have had for dinner the night before, whether they had too many drinks or they should have had an early night. I should have got up a bit early, had a bit of breakfast, and you know what, maybe I should have gone to the golf range and hit some shots. Or maybe they actually went to the golf range and hit some shots and they didn't hit them very well. And they've already created their own expectation for what's about to happen. Or they've actually hit them really, really well. And they're actually standing there thinking, well, actually, this isn't going to continue. So I don't know how I can keep this going for 18 holes. So rather than actually just focusing on what they want to happen with that particular shot, all of a sudden they've got all these distractions that they culminate in what golfers call their first tee nerves. Now, it's interesting, you know, I've never had a golfer come to me and say, Tony, can you cure my second tee nerves or my third tee nerve? It's almost like they only exist on the first tee.
Well, of course they do.
And once they've gone, they've disappeared forever.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And then they don't show up. They may show up actually as they're approaching the end of the game and they're realizing they've actually, they're starting to count the chickens before they've hatched and they're playing really, really well. And then magically these nerves just resurface again, purely and simply because golfers don't really have a clear strategy of what they're trying to achieve from arriving at the golf course to when they're leaving the golf course at the end of the day.
And after that first shot, of course, you know, you breathe a sigh of relief because it's further than the ladies' tee and it's gone okay. Then it's not just the first tee nerves that kick in; it's the second shot nerves because it's now not. Say it's gone to plan. How do you feel? I mean, how does most people feel if it went to plan?
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I get lots of different comments from golfers. They'll walk, as my golf shop, as you know, at Melton is quite close to the first tee. So occasionally I do get to watch some of them tee off, and they'll be walking off the tee having hit it straight down the middle in a nice position, and they're walking off breathing a sigh of relief, like the miracle that it actually happened, or maybe it hasn't gone to plan, and they're basically walking off going, "Oh, I knew that was going to happen." And I'm thinking, well, if you knew that was going to happen, why didn't you create a strategy around that so that it didn't actually happen? So it's really having, from arriving, yes, you are going to get nervous on that first tee. I've been playing the game now as a pro for 35 years and started out my time as a 15 or 16-year-old. And I've never been nervous on the first tee. But I've now got a strategy that allows me to deal with it, which gives me a clear idea of what I would like to achieve, and then assess what happens after I've done it to know what I might need to adjust going into the next shot, or whether I actually need to adjust anything at all.
So just by walking down this first tee, because this is where we're going to stop today, we're just walking down the first tee, and it's a nice little par 3. It's a nice little opener, and you've hit the first shot, and it didn't quite go to plan. Just like in a business, you know, you make that call, it doesn't quite go to plan. So the strategy needs to change. You need to be agile. We will say you need to have a can-do attitude, and we'll repeat that right the way through this series. So when it doesn't go to plan, Tony, and we're thinking about the golfer now, and it's gone a little wayward, it's gone to the left, and now the approach shot isn't quite as easy as it should be. So what should be going through your mind?
Well, very quickly, rather than focusing on the emotional element of what just happened, yes, it might not be in the ideal position, but ultimately you've got to take responsibility for the fact of what just happened. You were holding the club, you did swing the club, and you did hit the ball. But golfers have this amazing ability. We're talking about golfers, it's human ability to respond emotionally to what's going on rather than actually look at the facts. So you need to disassociate yourself from the emotional element and just focus on the facts of what actually happened. So if we start to assess it, we start to understand that the ball's now sitting in the rough on the left-hand side. Nice and simple. The golfer may have made a swing that was no more than 2 to 3 millimeters off centre from the part of the ball they intended to hit. And if you go and look at a ruler and look how much 3 millimeters is, that isn't a massive adjustment. But if they're starting to focus on how far offline the ball is instead of how close they were to hitting a good shot, they'll start to make bigger adjustments than actually necessary going into the next shot. So the focus needs to be, so what just happened? Oh, I just hit the ball on the right-hand side. All right, where was the club face pointing? Oh, the club face was pointing a bit left. What was the contact like? Oh, the contact was pretty good, actually. Brilliant. Reboot, move on. Enjoy the walk up to your golf ball. Have a chat with your fellow golfers. Start looking around at the trees and nature and feel lucky about why you're there on that particular morning. As you get to the next shot, we now need to be focused on what we need to do on this next shot. So we're not just aiming. A lot of golfers are actually aiming at the golf ball. Well, the golf ball, I know it's only 1.68 inches in diameter, but you have to be very specific about a part of ball you want to hit with the angle of the club face to send it in exactly the right direction. And if you're a millimeter off center, you're going to be 4 meters off target at 100 meters. So if you're now thinking, I've hit that a bit on the right, I've got to make a big adjustment now to hit this more on the left-hand side, there's every chance you're going to be more on the right-hand side of the green playing your approach shot. So we need to evaluate every single time after every single shot. Once we've done that, we just press the reboot button and we start again.
And that's great advice, so just paraphrasing, golf is a game and a game's supposed to be fun. There's no point in beating yourself up because you're not quite on the fairway. You've only hit it slightly into the rough. And the main thing is now it's about focus. We can all go back and with hindsight, we can play that shot again, but you've already played that shot and your golf buddies are saying, well, not quite what you expected, is it? And all of these external effects that are hitting you, it's now up to you to be emotionally competent. Not necessarily intelligent. I mean, you and I talk about this emotional intelligence connection. I'm still to find an emotion that is intelligent, frankly. I'm not for years we've been looking and I'm not too sure there is one, but it's this point of being focused on not where you were, but where you are. It's that next shot you should be focused on and all important, because the likelihood is you've been down the left-hand side in the rough before. So your brain is now bringing up all of those times, telling you that your next shot actually wasn't as good as your first shot. So all of these other emotions from your previous experience are coming forward. And again, it's a matter of getting focused. And part of that focus is concentrating on the shot ahead, not anything else that's in your mind. So you're going to take this next shot and you know what the approach should be. You're the golfer in this conversation. So where's the mind now?
Well, the mind, where it should be, is focusing on exactly where you want the ball to finish. Most golfers are generally aiming at too big a target. So they're aiming at the fairway or they're aiming at the green, which is great. But you and I know how the brain focuses. And if let's say you're aiming at the fairway and you've finished 2 yards off the fairway, your brain is really happy with that because you set a target of hitting the fairway and you're only 2 yards off the fairway. So that must be pretty good because you were very close to hitting what was quite a big target. So actually what we need to do is make the target smaller. So the first hole at Melton is a par 4. You've got a nice big bunker in front of a slightly elevated green. Most golfers are thinking about hitting the green, which means if you get close to hitting the green and going in the bunker, or you get close to hitting the edges of the green but finish slightly off the green, you've achieved your goal because your aim was to hit the green and you're really close to the target that you intended to hit. So congratulations, well done. But the golfer isn't happy because they didn't hit the green. But they're close to hitting the target. What they should be focusing on is, where do I want to be playing my next shot from? So the green slopes towards you. So you want to be aiming to get your ball anywhere between 15 to maybe 10 feet, just short of the flag. So you've got a nice, easy uphill putt for a birdie opportunity. Now, if you get it to 20 feet, you're quite close to being within 10 feet. So you've achieved your goal. But the great thing is you're on the green. And that's what's important. So you need to take a more of a laser-like approach to targeting, to saying, this is where I want to be. Let's see how close we can get there. I joke with many of my clients. I say, so when you leave the golf club to drive home, you drive home and you arrive exactly on your drive or right outside your house, don't you? Yeah, I do that. Why do you do that? Well, that's where I live. I've got a clear, you've got a clear focus of where you want to get to. I says, you don't get out of your car and phone your wife and say, hi, darling, I managed to get within a couple of streets of the house today, so I'll just be a few minutes. I'll be at the front door and home. No, you're not happy until you achieve what is your destination. And every golf shot has a destination. You've got to choose where that is. Just like every business needs to have a focus of where it's exactly heading. And you've got to be reevaluating every time you make a decision in terms of what is going to be the next move, just like a round of golf.
And it's really important here, as you said, celebrate the fact that you got in the area, within the target zone. And just linking it to the business arena here is we all set these targets and we never appreciate the fact that setting the target means there are 10, maybe 12 steps to that target. So celebrate each of those steps. I mean, on a par 4, it's easy. Ideally, there are 4 steps. And if you're really doing well on that particular day, there might be 3. And on the rare occasion, you could even eagle it. But the point is, you're setting the target, aiming for it, not aiming where you don't want to go. You aim where you go. But now what's happened is you did what you did last week and you ended up in that bunker. And those first few steps, you say, well, I knew that was going to happen. I did that last week. And your mates say, oh, you did that last week. You know, what part of mate is being a mate, giving you support and confidence here? Golfers do not give support and confidence. We all know that our buddies are out to beat us because actually they've just hit the bunker too. And guess what? That's exactly what they did last week. So you start the banter. You go and have a go and said, well, looks like we're buddies again, you know. But now you're in the bunker. How do you play the bunker shot?
Well, we just keep, again, we just need to go back to that same old focus of what do I want to achieve? Where do I want the ball to be? You know, in the ideal world, what are we aiming for? Well, the aim of the game of golf is to get a small ball into a series of small holes using sticks or clubs. So if, as far as I'm concerned, if you're close enough to reach the hole, there's a very good chance you could hole it. You're not going to hold it all the time, but that should be your focus. And again, we want to be focused on making that target as small as possible. And you can't get much smaller than the size of the hole on the golf course. So you need to be standing there in the bunker, focused on exactly what you want to happen. Where do you want the ball to land? How's it going to roll towards the hole? sadly, golfers kind of really underestimate their abilities. And a lot of them will be standing there saying, well, I'll just get out of the bunker. Great. But as long as you're out of the bunker, you've got to be happy. So now you're out of the bunker, you've hit it over the far side of the green, you're a long way away from the flag. Are you happy? Well, actually, no, I'm not very happy, because look where it's finished. But you only set your target as to get out of the bunker. Fact, are you still in the bunker? No. Are you happy? No. Right, well, so where's the problem? The problem lies within the golfer and the mindset and the way they actually focus on what they want to achieve. So you've got to really manage yourself around the golf course, much like we manage ourselves through anything that we go on and do in life, be that in what we do in business, what we do in our social lives. We're talking about what we're doing in sport. And we've all seen lots of examples of people losing in sport and doing things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. What we need to be focused on, well, let's focus on what we want, exactly what we want to happen. Did we achieve it? No. What do I need to do next? Keep it as simple as that. But and in doing it that way and rebooting every time, it allows us to keep our emotions in check. You know, as Steve Peters says, you know, we've got to keep the chimp in the box. You're the person who lets the chimp out the box. Nobody else does. You've got the key and the box is locked. Keep the key in your pocket, manage your emotions. We can't guarantee you will be successful every time with every shot, but you've certainly increased your chances.
And that's the whole point about it. It's about increasing your chances, learning from what you've done, parking, compartmentalizing every shot you've taken. Learn from every shot. There's no good or bad shot, frankly. You know, it's just what you store in between these 5 inches that we've all got between our ears. Now, we're not going to go into how good you are at putting, okay? Because that's for another occasion. So, just for today, our tee time tips for today are going to be focus on what you're about to do, not on what you've done, what meal you're going to have, whether or not your buddies are going to be cheering you on or getting you annoyed, because that's what buddies do. And have a really good target, because the closer you get to the target, the better option you've got for the next shot. Now, this is no different from working in an organization as an employee, a manager, or running the business. This is about having a focus, working with a strategy. You know, we didn't talk about that much, but it is about having a strategy and then going and doing. And don't beat yourself up on what you've just done. Work on what you're going to do about it. So is that paraphrased our first little session on It's Tee Time?
I think so. I mean, the key thing as a golfer is managing their own way around the golf course. If you're putting in a team situation, it's making sure the team is on board and they're understanding what their roles are within the environment we've created for what we want to achieve. So we've got to make sure we're bringing the whole team with us and everybody is supportive. Those 2 golfers we were talking about are playing golf with your mates. Invariably, at times, you're playing with them as a team. All of a sudden, these mates who are going to be ribbing you normally on a Saturday morning when you're playing individually, and now you're compadres, and now they're trying to help you out. Well, shouldn't we be doing that all the time? Shouldn't it be that the way we want people to be successful? And if we're going to be successful hitting a golf ball, can we translate that into success elsewhere? And that, for me, has to be the key thing, is making sure everybody's on board, everybody understands the parameters, and we move forwards. Deal with the facts. Facts are not emotions, because emotions can be very, very different for many, many different people. What we've got to do is focus on the facts of what happened and move forwards. And when we do that, we're certainly building a platform, a foundation where we can be successful. And as you quite rightly said, Neville, we're creating that can-do mindset all the time.
Yep, absolutely right. Developing that can-do mindset, putting things in the past that you can't handle because they've gone, and dealing with what's in front of you. And by the way, this goes for any age, and male or female, you know, boy or girl, man or woman, it's exactly the same process. Apart from if you're slightly going to miss that drive on the way home, I doubt my wife would ever phone me and say, can you help me? It's just not in her mentality. So leaving you on that sort of happy note, we'll see you next week. As we say, it's tea time, and it's going to be a short program between Tony and myself. So thanks for listening. Have fun on the golf course, and more importantly, get back to your business and start looking at these programs.
Cheers, Neville. Have a great week.
Cheers.